picture this. You're standing at a border control desk. You're completely exhausted from this massive transcontinental flight.
Oh, the worst feeling.
Right. And you hand over this pristine, legally binding marriage certificate from your home country. You're fully expecting the agent to, welcome you and your new spouse.
Yeah, you're ready to start your life.
Exactly. But instead, the agent shakes their head, slides the paper back across the desk, and basically tells you that in the eyes of their government, your marriage just, it doesn't exist.
Wow. Just denied right there.
Yeah. You are legally a stranger to the person you love. It's a completely jarring scenario. But as global mobility increases, it's happening a lot more frequently than you might think.
It really is.
So we're doing a deep dive today into this really comprehensive guide from Weddizer. It's titled Cross-Border Weddings, Legal Recognition and Financial Implications.
It's a fantastic resource, honestly.
It is. And our mission today is to look past all the beautiful destination venues and, like, the floral arrangements to uncover the massive legal and financial iceberg hiding beneath international marriages.
Because it's huge. We culturally condition ourselves to view a wedding as this ultimate romantic endpoint.
Right, the happily ever after.
Exactly. But legally, it's actually a starting line. I mean, a sovereign nation does not care about your love story.
Yeah, they really don't.
They care about jurisdiction, they care about taxation, and legal liability. And looking at this guide, it sounds like preparing for a corporate merger between two sovereign nations.
Yes. A corporate merger is the perfect way to put it. Okay, let's unpack this, because the very first hurdle the guide details is just securing basic legal recognition. It's what we could call the I do illusion.
The I do illusion, yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Because you can't just take a signed piece of paper from a ceremony in one country and expect another country to just, honor it automatically.
No, definitely not. Both parties have to meet local age requirements, the ceremony has to adhere strictly to local laws, and it can't violate public policy in either home country.
Right, but the part that really caught my attention was the intense paperwork for authentication. The guide mentions this dreaded thing called an apostille certification.
Ah, yes, the apostille.
Yeah, and it frames it as an absolute necessity. I read that and immediately wondered, what actually is an apostille? Why isn't a standard marriage certificate enough proof?
Well, what's fascinating here is that you have to look at the mechanics of international law. Sovereign states operate in zero-trust environments when it comes to foreign documents.
Zero trust. So they just assume everything is fake.
Basically, yeah. If you hand a French immigration official a marriage certificate issued by, say, a county clerk in Ohio, the French official has no way to verify that the signature is real.
Or that the county even exists, probably.
Right. Historically, to solve this, you had to go through this torturous chain of authentication. Notary, then state official, then federal government, then the foreign embassy.
Wait, you had to go all the way to the embassy just to verify a seal?
Yes, it was a total administrative nightmare. So the apostille comes from the 1961 Hague Convention. It's effectively a universally recognized cryptographic signature for physical paper.
Oh, okay, so it's like an administrative VIP pass.
That is a great way to think about it. If a document has an apostille stamp from a member state, all other member states agree to accept it automatically. No embassy legalization required.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But does it really count as a wedding if you need, consul registration and an international VIP pass just to prove it happened?
Well, failing to authenticate it creates a massive domino effect. If you skip the apostille, the foreign government rejects the certificate.
Which means your visa gets denied.
Exactly. Your spousal visa is automatically denied. You can't establish legal residency, you can't open joint bank accounts, and your path to citizenship is completely frozen.
Wow. So it's a hard stop on actually sharing a life together, which sets up the next hurdle perfectly. You get the apostille, so you legally exist on paper. But existing on paper doesn't grant you the right to actually cross the border and live together.
Yeah.
We have to move from paper to physical borders.
The immigration transition, yes. This is where couples hit the most friction. The source maps out family reunification visas and spousal sponsorship programs.
Yeah, but it wraps them in this massive warning label.
Because immigration law changes constantly. The tension here is how governments view cross-border marriages versus how citizens view them. You see it as a private commitment.
Yeah, obviously.
But the state sees a visa application as a potential vector for fraud or a burden on resources. So you have to prove to a very skeptical agent that your relationship is bona fide.
The burden of proof is nuts. The guide mentions invasive evidence, like joint leases, photo timelines, communication records.
I want to see everything.
It just feels it must be so stressful to have your living situation dictated by shifting government policies rather than your own relationship goals.
It's a huge emotional toll. And this is exactly why the source strongly advises getting qualified legal counsel immediately. You can't rely on some Reddit post from 3 years ago.
Right, because the rules probably changed twice since then.
Exactly. You need someone who can anticipate processing delays and understands evolving sponsorship criteria.
Okay, so let's say you survive that. You get the apostille, you get the visa, and you're finally living together legally. You've breached the fortress.
You've made it in.
Right. But now you're physically there, and the governments want their cut. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the taxation section is genuinely staggering.
Oh, it's incredibly complex. You're suddenly dealing with overlapping jurisdictions. The critical concept here is the difference between residency-based taxation and citizenship-based taxation.
Yeah, that stood out to me as a massive trap. I think most people assume, if you move to a new country and work there, you just pay taxes to that local government.
And for a lot of countries, that's exactly how it works. That's the residency-based model.
But then the guide highlights that certain nations, like the United States, use citizenship-based taxation. So you could live halfway across the world paying local taxes, and your home country still wants a cut.
They still want their annual tax return, absolutely, and potentially a cut of your global income.
That is wild.
It completely reshapes a couple's financial strategy.
Yeah.
You have to actively engage with double taxation agreements, these tax treaties, so you aren't literally taxed twice on the same dollar.
And if you don't know about this, you're risking severe financial penalties, right? Just for not disclosing foreign bank accounts.
Huge penalties. Ignorance is not an excuse to the tax authorities.
Which leads right into daily banking. We all know about exchange rates and transfer fees, but the guide points out a structural flaw that I couldn't believe. Credit histories.
Ah, yes. The credit score shock.
A perfect credit score in one country doesn't just pack its bags and cross the border with you.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, credit systems are entirely proprietary to the nations that build them. There's no global database of financial trustworthiness.
I was thinking about it like a video game save file. You spend a decade leveling up your character in your home country, paying student loans, getting a mortgage.
Building up that perfect score.
Yeah. But the moment you move to your spouse's country, it's like buying a completely different gaming console. The save file doesn't transfer. To their financial system, you are back to level 1.
That is a painfully accurate analogy. You are basically a ghost to them. You're an unknown, high-risk entity.
So what do you do? How do you buy a car or rent an apartment?
This is why the guide says you can't rely on a single banking solution. You have to maintain a hybrid of local and global banking.
Like keeping a footprint in both worlds.
Exactly. You need local accounts to handle daily utilities and slowly grind out that new local credit history. But you also maintain home country accounts to manage lingering obligations and tax reporting.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered daily cash flow and yearly taxes. But what about long-term wealth? The guide pivots into the what-ifs of life, like international property and prenuptial agreements.
The high stakes of international marriage, really.
Yeah, and it highly recommends internationally enforceable prenups. But I have to push back here. Isn't drafting an internationally enforceable prenup the ultimate wedding buzzkill?
Culturally, sure, people see it as a lack of trust or planning for a divorce.
Right. You just hacked together this hybrid banking setup, and now you sit your partner down to draft an asset division contract.
This raises an important question, though. Legally, in a cross-border marriage, not having one is dangerously naive. It's actually a profound act of care.
Wait, how is a prenup an act of care? What are we defending against?
You're defending your spouse against the rigid default laws of foreign jurisdictions, specifically regarding inheritance. The guide warns about jurisdictions with mandatory heirship rules.
Oh, I saw that. That sounded intense. What does that actually mean?
It's very common in civil law systems across Europe, Latin America, parts of the Middle East. It means the state dictates exactly how a significant portion of your estate is divided when you die.
And it overrides your personal will.
Completely overrides it. It forces the distribution of assets to blood relatives, parents, children, siblings, regardless of what you want.
Okay, give me a real-world scenario for an international couple. How bad can that get?
Okay, imagine an American and a French citizen get married. They buy a house together in France. They draft standard American wills, leaving everything to each other.
Seems reasonable.
Right, but tragically, the French spouse passes away. Under French mandatory heirship laws, the deceased spouse's parents might be legally entitled to a forced share of that French property.
Wait, so the American will is just powerless?
Effectively powerless,
Uh-huh.
the surviving American spouse could suddenly find themselves legally co-owning their primary residence with their in-laws.
Oh, my
Or
God.
they might be forced to liquidate the home just to pay out the legally mandated share to those blood relatives.
That is a literal nightmare. The legal system just bypasses your stated intentions entirely.
Exactly. And you also have cross-border probate delays and conflicting estate taxes.
Yeah.
If you rely on default laws, a sudden tragedy spirals into a multinational legal dispute.
So the prenup and the estate planning, you're using those to explicitly define jurisdiction. You're making sure your partner doesn't get locked out of their own home.
Precisely. You are building a legal fortress around the relationship.
Okay, that completely recontextualizes it for me. It's not planning for a breakup. It's taking control of your legal destiny.
Yes, because the alternative is letting competing governments dictate it for you.
So we've built the legal fortress. But how do couples actually live inside it? Let's talk about life in the margins. The guide touches on gaps in health insurance and differing cultural expectations.
The insurance gap is huge. People assume that because one spouse has great nationalized health care, the new spouse is automatically covered upon arrival.
And that's not the case.
Rarely. There's usually a significant waiting period. So you have to bridge that gap with travel medical insurance or expat health plans, otherwise one emergency could bankrupt you.
And managing all this, the apostilles, visas, tax treaties, insurance, it requires project management skills, on par with running a company.
It really does. It's overwhelming.
The source actually introduces a solution for this, Weddizer. And reading this, it doesn't sound like just a wedding planning app. It sounds like critical technological infrastructure.
It's essentially a centralizing layer for a highly decentralized problem, because nations don't build their legal systems to be interoperable.
Right.
So a platform like Weddizer provides the organizational framework and the expert resources to actually map all these disconnected requirements into a single timeline.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Even if you aren't planning an international wedding, this deep dive is basically a masterclass in the realities of our globalized world.
It strips away the illusion of a borderless world, doesn't it?
It really does. We're so interconnected digitally, but structurally, we are still fiercely divided by invisible lines of jurisdiction.
It highlights the tension of the modern era perfectly. Open communication about these legal realities actually strengthens a relationship and reduces cultural misunderstandings.
Absolutely. We've covered a massive terrain today. From apostille certifications bypassing zero-trust environments to the heavy burden of proof for visas.
The financial maze, citizenship-based taxation.
Right, and while your credit score vanishes. We reframe prenups as a defensive shield against mandatory heirship rules. It's clear that an international marriage is a triumph of sheer administrative endurance.
It's a monumental undertaking. But navigated correctly, that shared struggle builds an incredibly resilient partnership.
Well said. Which brings me to one final, provocative thought to leave you with. Something beyond the Weddizer guide.
Oh, let's hear it.
As remote work decouples our physical location from our economic output, the current paper-based legal system feels completely unsustainable.
It's definitely straining.
Right. So will this administrative nightmare eventually force the creation of a digital global citizenship? Imagine a decentralized, blockchain-based international marriage registry.
Oh, wow. A smart contract for marriage.
It's exactly. A system that proves your union and protects your assets, transcending physical borders entirely. It's a wild thought, but considering the hurdles today, a borderless legal protocol might be the only logical next step.
It would certainly solve the apostle problem.
It really would. Until that digital registry exists, the next time you get an invite to a breathtaking destination wedding, just remember, you're witnessing two people successfully executing one of the most complex legal mergers of their lives. Catch you on the next deep dive.